Jack Limsey, Michaela's father, had his life turned upside down when she disappeared 5 years ago. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. He was left with an inexplicable void in his heart and no indication of her whereabouts. He was tormented by the unbearable pain every minute of the day. But one afternoon, as he was tending to his yard, Jack discovered something. He had no clue that he was about to spill the beans on a 5-year-old secret. Before his beloved young child disappeared, Jack had to overcome a number of challenges in his own life. After a rocky relationship, Jack and Michaela's mother decided to split and eventually get divorced. There was trauma from the bloody courtroom clashes that would never completely go away. Jack was granted exclusive custody of their daughter as part of the divorce settlement, while his ex-wife received their house and the most of their shared life. Michaela's parents were embroiled in a bitter custody battle following their divorce. Unable to contemplate his life without Michaela, Jack would not give up. Her mother Camila also put up a strong fight. In the end, Jack won full custody, an improbable victory for fathers. But it also meant he would forfeit the home they had shared and a large portion of their shared lives. Even so, he ought to have been ready for the worst that lay ahead. He gave his work his all since he was committed to providing Michaela with the best possible life. He put in extra long hours at work and faced every challenge head-on. As time passed, Jack had to deal with being a single father alone. His love life had diminished since he'd been focusing on his work and parenting his kid. His loneliness was pushing him to take a chance and go back out on the dating scene. Then, all of a sudden, one evening, everything came to a head. Jack experienced a glimmer of hope when Alyssa entered his life, just when he was beginning to feel hopeless. Her sensitivity, empathy, and compassion helped him mend the emotional scars his ex-wife had inflicted on him. Now Alyssa stood for a fresh start and gave Jack hope for success. Jack never would have imagined how well his relationship with Alyssa had gone. They had been dating for 2 years when he proposed, and they were shortly married. Alyssa had been Jack's confidant, his pillar of support and understanding for a very long time. Having witnessed the wounds from the past, she made every effort to aid in his recovery. Jack was enjoying this strange euphoria when something horrible happened. Michaela was gone. On a Saturday, the 13-year-old went out with several pals and never returned. Michaela allegedly took an Uber home, according to her pals. The worried pair hoped for the best as the inquiry got underway after they promptly filed a report. The worst was still to come, but they were unaware of it. Jack and Alyssa's happy marriage ended due to Michaela's unexplained abduction. With unwavering optimism that they would eventually locate their beloved daughter, the two of them started an interminable hunt. But what started off as a few hours turned into a few days, weeks, a whole month, 2, 3, 4, and 5 months later. A full year had passed with no sign of Michaela. There were still no solid leads as to Michaela's whereabouts at the conclusion of the first year. That pattern continued for another year, and then for 2 more. Their hearts were left with nothing more than a lasting hole as their hope began to fade. Jack was the only person who continued to hold on to hope amidst the detectives and Michaela's friends and family, who gradually lost interest in finding her. There had always been uncertainty hanging over Jack. About an hour after he reported Michaela missing, they came out. His ex-wife became more accusing, holding him responsible for Michaela's abduction. Camila used the opportunity to launch court fight after legal battle, depleting Jack's resources both monetarily and emotionally. But Alyssa stuck at Jack's side despite the turbulent legal disputes and the uncertainties. She became his source of strength since her love was unwavering. The 5th anniversary of Michaela's disappearance elapsed after another year. Jack was now a broken man, tormented by the memory of his daughter's absence. As Alyssa watched him fall apart, she was overcome with a sense of helplessness. One fateful morning, while Jack was laying out his yard, there was a metallic clink that shook the stillness. His pruning shears had touched something metal that was buried deep in the ground. He found a chain buried there, the links shining with the dew of the morning. After being dragged, the chain resisted. Retracing his steps, he grasped his waist, trying to recall if he had ever seen this chain before. but Jack was unable to recall setting the chain into the ground. Jack saw the chain was more than just knotted as he struggled with the unyielding dirt. It appeared to be linked to something buried far below. Curiosity eclipsed the frustration that began to seep in. When Jack realized he needed more than his basic gardening tools, he called his neighbor Russo, who had a variety of digging gear. Enticed by the enigma, Russo consented to assist with the excavation. Jack and Russo, equipped with shovels and resoluteness, excavated for several hours, trailing the corroded metal links of the chain. The suspense in the air increased with every second that went by, as though the earth itself was holding its breath. For the first time in a long time, Jack felt as though the issues he had encountered throughout the previous 5 years had vanished. After searching for a while, the two eventually discovered the metallic edges of a chest. Their spines tingled at its sheer immensity, which suggested a sinister mystery. For Jack, everything changed as the chest opened. With a creak, the lid opened to expose mounds of notes, garments, shoes, coats, and papers instead of riches. There was an aura of dread in the air. The two neighbors started going through the belongings and came upon ancient journals that told a terrifying tale of remorse and participation in a horrible murder. The posts described a sinister story that shouldn't have been made public, notwithstanding their initial vagueness. Jack felt the shame become more familiar as he read more. He immediately thought of Michaela. The stories in the journals repeated the anguish he'd felt when she disappeared 5 years prior. But it was just part of the story. Jack kept reading because he couldn't get rid of the sensation that this was a familiar narrative. His suspicions began to solidify that his wife had something to do with Michaela's abduction. The woman wasn't she there when Michaela vanished. Jack recalled thinking that Alyssa had something to hide. He could tell that she was clearly uncomfortable trying to ease his agony. She appeared to be concealing something, as though she was making an excessive effort. Jack made the decision to question Alyssa about the journals before deciding to involve anybody else or point the finger. He turned from denial to horror when he showed her the papers and the clothing. Alyssa lost her cool and fled into the backyard, where mayhem was waiting for her. The once tidily planted area now looked like a murder scene. The evil she had committed 5 years prior could no longer be contained in the formerly immaculate backyard. Having nowhere to hide, Alyssa gave in and admitted. The first thing she asked herself was, why had I done all of this when Jack had only shown her love and respect? He had arranged everything through his ex-wife Camilla, but there was only half of the story. There were yet more revelations that would shred Jack's life to pieces. She intended to cause you pain, Alyssa said. She approached me with various threats, including blackmail. She put my father, my brothers, and my family in danger. A threat to come after you, too. She's alive, Alyssa muttered in response. Michaela's alive and well. Jack gave her a quick glance. Why would she torture him like this after all she'd known and enabled him to go through? Enough, he stumbled, tears smearing his eyes. Please, enough! Alyssa disclosed that throughout the previous 5 years, she and Michaela had been communicating covertly. Alyssa had battled valiantly to locate the kid after Camilla had taken her to her in-laws in Alaska. She kept in constant communication with her, informing her of her dad's condition, but she was unable to inform Jack because she was aware of his abilities. He would travel directly to Alaska, and the fallout would be severe. I'm okay with facing the consequences of my actions, Alyssa said. I've wronged you, and I'll accept whatever comes. She appeared in court several times during the following several months, but she wasn't the one on trial. She testified against Camilla, who had angrily refuted Jack's charges against her. She supported Jack in his pursuit of justice. The courtroom turned into a combat zone where falsehoods and truth collided. After all she had gone through, it was the least she could do. Following an extended legal battle, the court declared Camilla guilty of her nefarious actions. The sentencing was a bittersweet win for Jack and Alyssa, who had fought for the truth as well as Michaela's homecoming. With the verdict, a chapter came to a close and a new one began, one in which justice was done, but not completely able to heal the wounds in their hearts. Camilla's setback was followed by a much-needed reunion. Reunited with his daughter, Jack felt a mixture of relief and resentment. Though it didn't completely heal the wounds from the past, the happiness of discovering her alive did. Camilla accepted responsibility for her acts, serving her term for the suffering she caused, and after admitting her part in the incident, Elisa chose a road of atonement by volunteering in the community. For Jack and Michaela, it was the end of a nightmare that lasted 5 years. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.